following show may shock, disturb, and offend some viewers. The opinions, theories, and facts shared on this podcast are not widely accepted by the brainwashed masses, especially those who find dark humor offensive. Viewer discretion is advised.
Jeffrey Dahmer soaked in blood. The Unabomber blowing up. Waco, Texas, and Heaven's Gates. Aliens modified, meant for apes. JFK shot in the head by the CIA. Bigfoot and the Mothman. Son of Sam talking to dogs again. Witches, ghosts, and goblins. Mysterious noise and hauntings. Dark arts in the skull and bones. Most celebrities are probably cloned. So if you're feeling all alone, crack a beer and get stoned. I welcome you to the podcast Strange Brew. We're here to entertain you. We're here to entertain you.
It's about to get strange.
I see you showed up, Aaron. Welcome, everybody. We're going to go live very soon. Or we are live, technically.
We were sent to document the event. This is our new Pearl Harbor. Urban fronts, moving systems. The towers had to fall.
Smoke and fire to kiss the sky. A perfect life the world buys. Firemen smile in morning light. Dancing on rooftops out of sight. Urban vans with secret eyes. Converse taps and hidden spies. For knowledge wrapped in silence deep. While 3,000 souls still sleep. Art students with blank disguise. Painting death and real-time lies. Apartment walls near flight school ghosts. Watching targets coast to coast. Warning signs in coded form. On it goes, but before the storm. Mossad shadow carved and said, but justice hasn't spoken yet. Red hat dreams at telecom towers. Surveillance masked in foreign power. Science reach with global claim. Beneath it all, the hidden flame. Agents of the flame. Spinning truth into the blame. Builders of the game. While towers fell, they knew the name.
Okay, I think you guys get it. That will probably be on all music platforms pretty soon. So welcome to the show. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Aaron. I almost thought you weren't going to join. Troy's, there he is. Here we go, everybody.
I made it.
Thank God. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is Strange Brew Podcast. We are live right now on 9/11 to discuss 9/11. Billy was supposed to show up. This was his idea. But, you know, things happen, and yeah, it's just his friend's car broke down, so he had to fix it, and I'm like, what a disappointment he is. Welcome, everybody.
Maybe it was a setup on 9/11.
I know. So, welcome, Aaron, and Troy. Do you want to introduce yourself first, Aaron, and let the audience know who you are?
Everyone already knows who I am, I think, at this point.
Yeah, this is
Don't you
Aaron,
think?
the horror boy.
Yeah, also a crazy 9/11 conspiracy lover.
Yeah, aren't you
Yeah.
reading David Icke's book right now?
So I have it right here.
It's massive.
I'm on page 491.
Oh my
and
God.
There is 904 pages.
I find his books, like, I have the reptilian book, the most extensive, comprehensive research on reptilians, and it's so, like, it's massive. I don't, like, it's hard to get through, and the way he writes and stuff is kind
Do you
of
know what
like,
the worst part is? I couldn't tell you what the last 480 pages said. So I'm like, it gets to that point. Like, by the time I get to the end, I'll have no idea what the book is about.
Troy, you're muted. This is Troy, Aaron, just so you guys can meet. Troy's been on the show a couple times.
What a day to meet. On
I know.
9/11.
Yeah, good to finally talk to you.
Likewise.
Strange times, man. Strange times.
So might as well mention this. It's crazy that Charlie Kirk got shot. I saw that, like, almost as soon as it started getting released to social media. It was very quick. I just opened my phone as I was leaving work, and then, seeing the blood spray out of his neck is crazy. And it's pretty nuts. And like, there's a lot of people that are like, same with the girl, the Ukrainian girl that got stabbed on the bus. That are they're essentially saying that it was a psyop and all that stuff. And what I do think, I want to know your guys' thoughts. I think they're both dead. Doesn't necessarily mean that you can't use these deaths of people to create psychological warfare. Like, there was multiple angles, and you have literally, and this is why I'm like, I'm a conspiracy theorist, but some of these people are going off the rails, and I'm like, question everything. That's our belief on the show, is to question everything. But there's people like, it was a hologram and like stuff like that. And I'm like, are you people lost your fucking minds? Like, I'm sure there's stuff that like, it could have been a blood pact. Who knows? Whatever. And they're referencing, the two things they reference is there's guys giving weird hand signals in the background and his ring moving, but he constantly would play with his ring, and people speculate it was so fast that essentially the ring flew off and then it went over his pinky as it flew off his hand. So, and then people are speculating, look, another psyop. Either way, I'm pretty sure he's dead. And then obviously they're going to use, much like what we're talking about today, some sort of horrible event to convey a certain message or to convince the public of something, right? And what do you guys think? Because I think that, yes, they'll probably use it for psychological warfare. I do think that both of those people are dead. There could be obviously some shady business going on. I think that I still think he's dead. And I still think that they'll probably, I think we'll never know the narrative. I think the narrative they're going to sell us about who did it and why they did it and all that. Like, I don't think that old man that you saw first. So, Troy, what do you think?
Honestly, I think whatever they plan to have happen, it has backfired. From what I've seen in the last few hours of the morning, a lot of people who were considering themselves liberals have definitely changed aisles. A lot of them are saying it's too extreme. This isn't what I signed up for. So
Troy, try to move your headphone or mic a bit. It's cutting out a little bit.
So yeah, I just kind of think that whatever they had planned is kind of backfired. I think this is actually going to unite, or at least bring people over to a more sensible way of thinking as opposed to where it was before.
Is it plugged in? Is it plugged in hard? It's like crackling like crazy.
You hear me?
Yeah, it's just very crackly. What is that? Do you have another pair of headphones?
No.
Fuck.
No, I can't hear you.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. Yeah. It was working fine before we went live, and now maybe it's just the internet.
I'm telling you, dude, the StreamYard is like the worst.
Well, we're always fine.
Do you know what's hilarious is that there's another YouTube channel I watch called Critical Drinker, and he always says that he's like, everything goes fine, go live, everything goes to shit.
I know, it seems like it. Just try to I don't know, change the mic, plug it in and out. I don't know, you might need to restart the computer, or it's maybe the connection. That sounds better. Keep talking.
Got me now? We're good?
Yeah, it's just crackly as hell.
Yeah, that's why I said I'll just kind of stay quiet unless it's required.
Oh, that sucks, man. I wanted you to join in the convo. Yeah, the old man was cleared. FBI already put out an image of the person in interest.
Do we have a picture of that? Whoever
I don't know.
interest is. I heard it was a 25-year-old kid. Is that right?
I don't know. I haven't dug deep into that. So,
has anybody seen the theory? I've only seen it in the last few hours about so he was wearing a bulletproof vest, right, under that white t-shirt.
Yeah.
So apparently there's some new slowed down video now of like the guy behind him making the hand signals. There's another guy to the right of him that's wearing a hat and a white shirt, I think, that has his phone. And even when he gets shot in the neck, he just continues to just stand there as if like he doesn't even flinch. And then somebody said that Charlie himself was making some sort of like gesture or something with his nose.
He was going like this, but I'm like,
that could be anything. But I seen people saying that, the plan was for him to be hitting the vest, and they hit him in the neck by mistake.
Yo, that would be crazy if that was true.
Now, again, like that could be just crazy conspiracy. I don't know, but I seen that literally before we went live. That somebody thousands of comments being like, yep, for sure.
Yeah,
That's
good
crazy.
one. That's a good one. I didn't think of
Troy,
that.
try setting your mic to your laptop. Just see if like coming through the laptop will sound any better. Just check. Like you can still set your headphones and then have it.
Is that better?
It's the same. So maybe it was coming from your computer.
Yeah.
Go,
No,
go
I'll
into
just skip out. That's fine.
Okay.
I gotta get my
Shitty. All right.
Sorry,
all
dude.
right. Well,
I
at
tried.
least you could try to come on. See you, dude. Oh, that's shitty. Too bad. We tried. Billy was supposed to be here, so I shouted out Troy to be like, "Hey, come pop on or whatever," and we'll, but whatever. It happens. I just think it's crazy. Like, there's people speculating that Israel was involved, and before we get into this stuff, right? It's not like I just want to say that like I don't condone violence or anything like that or
at
hate.
all. I'll be honest. And I'm the same. And like I don't know why, right? Because I wasn't a fan. And it's not that I was against him or anything, but I wasn't necessarily a fan of Charlie Kirk. I've obviously seen him online and shit. Didn't really. I'll be totally honest. I try to not be as political as possible because I try and just live life for the most part, because it gets me so frustrated and then I don't know what to think anymore and I don't know what to believe. And it's happened to me before here in Ireland where like maybe I've aligned myself with a political party and it turns out that then they fuck us over as well. So I'm like, I just try and live now because I feel like I can't control some of it. So I try and just enjoy
Me,
life and
I've
whatever.
never picked a side. Like I've never been left or right, but am I more right leaning when it comes to the actual what conservatism is? For sure. Conserving your country, conserving your national identity, conserving these traditional values that built all of the Western world, right? I do believe in that. But like I'm saying before this, to make this very clear, like this is not supposed to be hatred towards Jewish people or any of that type of thing. I believe that there is people that are also caught up in a lot of the things that are going on and blamed. And it's the same way, right, that I want to say this. I was thinking about it today when I was like working. It's like, it's the same way they want to blame all white people for all these problems in the world. And there's clearly, in my opinion, an anti-white agenda. And like that we're constantly targeted. So many different ethnic groups think everything is our fault, we're to blame, right? And I just want to say, like, there is Jewish people that are caught in the crossfire of all these conspiracies, and there's a lot of the youth even in Israel that has protested against what's happening in Gaza, and now there's an evacuation. Like everything that a lot of these conspiracy theorist people were saying is coming out. But do I think there's shady people that yes are maybe Jewish and own 80% of the media, Hollywood, all of that thing? There is. You should question that. I just want to say, if it was Russian people, if it was Muslim, like if it was other people, I would still say the same thing. I would still be like, yeah, that's really weird.
It's I don't know why you're right. So apparently this is
Like a cash patel.
The FBI released these images. This is the suspect now. Apparently, I don't know.
This is fishy as hell, man.
Yeah, the whole thing is just very strange.
ABC News, yeah.
So he hasn't been caught yet. Then is what I'm assuming. I thought that he was after being arrested, but he hasn't. It says we will catch this individual. Let's see. So
something like all of like I think that
high-power bolt-action rifle was found discarded in a wooded area near the Utah Valley University and is being analyzed by the FBI for any clues.
Yeah, it's the person of interest.
Older model Mauser, blah blah blah, wrapped in a towel. Spent cartridge was discovered in the chamber of the gun. Okay, blah blah. Okay, that doesn't really narrow anything down. But so anyway,
what do you think? Because it's so crazy. Like, and for all the people listening to audio,
right? I've seen a lot of fucked up shit on the internet. Right, I've watched some of the worst things that you could watch.
Yeah, remember Rotten.com?
Yeah, like I mean, even that one where the Russian guys are torturing the homeless dude.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing that. Or that hammer video from the Russian.
3 guys, 1 hammer or whatever.
So fucked.
I've seen all that stuff, right? And while I'm not saying that that's any better or worse, for some reason, this in specific really got to me.
Me too.
I don't know if it's the like I was thinking about it, right? The dude is around our age. He's 31, 32. I think he was like 32 next week. He has 2 small kids, a young wife. And again, right? Whether you, and this is not, see, the problem is, right? This will get taken out of context. And people go, oh my God, you're a fucking Charlie Kirk supporter. You believe everything he believes. No, I just believe whatever I believe. And if some of that aligns with what he says, then that's fine. But that has nothing to do with it. What it has to do with is a dude who has a certain set of beliefs gets shot in the fucking neck in front of his wife and 3,000 random people.
I heard his kids were there. At least his wife was there.
On like a random fucking Wednesday or whatever. Because of some bullshit like politics.
Because of
like
opinions, right?
Fucking like, but it's just, and it's such a sickening. I don't know if you've seen the actual thing, but like, it was on fucking TikTok and everything. Like, and it's just so bizarre to me. Like the way it hits his neck, and he does that. Like I was looking at like forensic analysis and stuff. They were talking about it, and they were like, he was for sure dead the minute he got hit in the neck. The way he does that like weird like stiffens up. They were like, that was a kill shot. Like he was just dead instantly, and it's just so grim. And the way the blood like pours out of his neck, and he just falls over. I was like, holy fuck.
And it just, because I literally was leaving work. I opened my phone, and like I was already looking at Facebook prior or whatever, like at break or something like that. And then I saw like that, and I was like, what the fuck? And I instantly went to like Google. Just to see. I don't like using Google. I use Brave and stuff like that. Google, I've caught numerous times lying. The AI gives you it's like garbage information that's literally not true, and it just bases off sites that are already owned by certain people and stuff like that, right? So, and then I was like, what the? And then it was like 6 minutes ago, so I was like, I just saw it when it just happened, and it was like on Facebook, which is crazy, and it was disturbing, and what bothers me the most is like, instantly, like all these conspiracy tards, and like I'm a conspiracy theorist, but all these like almost like QAnon Q-tard people like are like, it was holograms, it was this, it was that, and I'm like, yeah, question what happened, question the motive of the shooter, question if maybe our own governments are involved in these type of things, but if he did die, just as that girl died on that bus, if it wasn't some sort of psyop that you want to believe, there's still death. Even if they use it for a psychological warfare, it's a psyop or whatever. If they did actually die, and maybe some of these conspiracy theorists are wrong, then it's people died. People that like was somebody's daughter, right? You know,
so
somebody.
That's my biggest thing with all this. It's grand to get into all the like, the the inner workings of like, this person done it, that person done it, this group was involved, that group was involved. Just aside from that, like a young dude got shot in the neck in broad daylight in public.
To me, it looks real, and there was like tons of witnesses. It would be very hard to fake that.
Yeah, there's a video from like the first or second row, and it's fucking scary.
I know. I saw from multiple different angles.
Dude, it's scary. And then the video of him being dragged into the truck.
Yeah.
Like,
dude, it's disturbing. And even my wife was like reading the comments of the people that were like essentially advocating for his death, cheering on his death. And obviously like liberalism is a mental fucking illness.
Here's the other side of this, right? I wouldn't, if somebody that I didn't agree with was shot in the neck like that, I would say the exact same thing.
So yeah, that's probably true. Someone said Charlie's starting to notice. Johnny said that.
But you know what I mean? Like the point I'm trying to make there is like, so I said, I have no skin in the game with any of this. I try and just stay out of it and just like live and just control what I can control in my little bubble.
Yeah.
Yes, I align with certain things, or I might believe a certain thing, or I lean a certain way. But like, if this was someone that some of the stuff he's said before, I agree with. There's some of the stuff he said that I completely disagree with. But this wouldn't matter. Even if this was somebody that I adamantly was like, right, I believe the complete opposite of everything you believe, I still wouldn't be going, woohoo, a dude got shot in the neck in front of his wife and kids. So good. This is
it's crazy. And if it happened
to them, it makes no real sense. It makes no sense though. The thing for anybody to say like, this is a good thing, it doesn't make any sense. It makes as much sense as saying that chick that got stabbed in the neck on the bus deserved or on the train or whatever it was deserved to be.
Oh, there's
fucking-
people from the black community that think that.
But you know what I
it's
mean?
okay.
It's that thing of like, none of this makes any sense. How is any of this getting to the root of the problem or like fixing the problem or
Yeah.
and like, you know, and then what starts to happen is it starts to become this other fucking thing about like they're trying to out the people who were sitting around her who didn't help.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, I'm gonna play devil's advocate before we move on.
Yes.
I can't say that if I was sitting on a bus tomorrow and some fucking big lunatic fucking guy, black, white, yellow, green, whatever color, stands up and fucking stabs someone in the neck right beside me, I can't pretend for a second and say, well, I'd get up and I'd do Bruce Lee. I might shit in my pants and go, what is happening?
You're trained to fight, though. You could do
But
it.
like, yeah, you like, and chances are maybe I would, but I could also end up in the same position as her. So I think your instinct straight away isn't probably like all those people on the internet that say, well, if I had been on that bus, I
I
would have
know.
got up and I would have arrested him and all, and I would have, you know, no, but not. We're not all fucking Keanu Reeves in Speed or fucking Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. So like, that's number one, right? Now I'm not defending what they done.
No.
This is the world we live in now. Everybody tries to do this because they don't want to be involved. Nobody wants their shit to get. Look, I've seen it firsthand. I've seen people get mugged on the street, and I've seen somebody step in to try and help, and I've seen that person get the shit beaten out of them, and they're left there, and nobody helps them. So I think a lot of people have that in mind, where it's like, I don't want to get involved. Now the flip side of that is, it's sick that we live in a world where that can happen, and the chick is, you can see her, she's like looking around shocked right before she keels over.
Yeah.
Not saying anybody could have fucking helped her. Like, she was obviously probably dead at that point, but like the fact that nobody even tried to do anything is kind of unsettling. But then also the flip side of that is then it becomes a completely different story. So we're forgetting about the fact that what happened to her happened. And then it becomes like, well, if this had been white people that didn't bother, but it's because it's black people. I'm like, can we just forget about that for 1 second?
Yeah, I know.
And the fact
But
that a
part
fucking
of it
chick-
is
like,
kind of
if-
true,
if-
though.
No,
Like,
and I do. I'm not saying I don't get that argument. I get
there
the
would be
argument, but
riots. They'd be burning down every fucking
But, like,
city.
my-
Like what
my
happened with
point-
George Floyd, man. A
my
fucking
point
drug
is
dealer.
that, like, if God forbid, like that was your fucking wife, or, you know, somebody that was close to me or my sister or something like that, like I would be forgetting about that, and first and foremost, I'd be going, a person just fucking got stabbed to
Yeah.
death in public, and we didn't do anything, regardless of any of that.
I know, and it's so funny because I'm a conspiracy theorist, but the amount of stuff that like people are now is be like, it's a hologram, oh, it's a fake, she was a crisis actor, and maybe all of that is true, but even if there's a small percentage that it is real and she did die, and maybe Charlie Kirk, it is real. Like that maybe, like, because people started to point at, and I'm not saying I'm speculating this, but people started to point at the fact that he went and kissed the wall and was, that's the one thing I remember, like literally a week or two ago, some guy at work was like, I like Charlie Kirk. I watched some of his videos or whatever. Oh, that one guy or whatever. I was like, oh yeah, Charlie Kirk. And I was like, I don't mind some of his stuff. I don't agree with everything he says. But I was like,
that
I
doesn't
was
mean
like, I
that-
don't like he's a supporter of Israel, right? And then he started questioning and noticing things, and openly stated that there's been blackmail going on, that Jeffrey Epstein has connections to Israel and stuff like that. And then it's just convenient. Then he gets shot as soon as he kind of starts to air out some of that information.
Yeah, and like, look, this could all, like, I don't know enough because I didn't dig deep enough into any of this to really speak in depth on any of it. But like, I just think ultimately, like, regardless, like, we could have completely differing opinions on whatever topic, like, but I don't know, just me as a person, and this is not me being like, oh, look how great I am, like, I'm such a good person. It's not like I've lots of things that are not good about me. But like, I don't think I've ever found myself cheering, even if I dislike somebody, to go like, woohoo, they died, or that person's like.
I said that at
fucking
work today. I was like,
stabbed.
it's not like it's Hillary Clinton who has like a body list. If someone's on the left, like if Whoopi Goldberg got shot in the neck like that, I'd be like, yo, that's fucked up. Like, I don't wish death on anybody, right? And that's like crazy that like there's so many videos of so many leftists and liberals and these lunatics that are like cheering on the death of somebody. And of course, there's those conspiracy theorists that think that it's all set up and it's all a psyop. Sure, that may be possible. But the thing is, if it's not, and you're wrong, and he did just die and get shot in the neck or whatever, or it was some sort of staged event and maybe he was supposed to hit his bulletproof vest and it shot him. God knows, right? There's so many different theories that you could throw at this. If there is still a percentage chance that he died and shot and was killed in front of his kids and his wife, that's sick that people will cheer that on. Liberalism is a mental disorder. I don't like any side because the right is fake, the left is fake. If people don't grasp yet that politics is fucking fake, politicians are fake, they're parasites, you have no skin in the game. You have no actual intellectual capability to debate anything because you don't understand how this is all it's the illusion of choice.
So
they're all
I'm
fake.
I'm going to play devil's advocate again for a second.
So crazy, man.
With this. So here we are again, right? This happens, and now our entire existence is hijacked again.
Yes.
And my point being is, right, and a lot of people probably disagree with me on this, and I don't mean to do nothing and just accept fate or anything like that, but like, right, this is a big, crazy, polarizing thing. There is people that I know personally, right, that I know for a fact haven't a fucking clue who Charlie Kirk was before yesterday, right? And that's completely fine. There's no issue with that, right? But the same people now all have like a political stance. And I'm like, I can't come on this episode and claim to have a specific political stance just because this happened and it's like the current thing. And I'm like, well, you know what? I watched TikToks till 4 a.m. last night and now I'm really informed. I will openly admit, I haven't got a clue about a lot of this stuff. Sometimes you go in depth about certain things and I don't know. So I don't speak because I'm speaking out of turn. I can't say like, well, yeah, you're right, this and that, or I can't disagree and I can't agree because I don't fucking know. I haven't even informed myself enough to make a decision. So what annoys me then is when everybody, I'll be honest, right? I unfollowed multiple people over the course of the last 24 hours, right? Now, again, right, that might seem really petty and normally I just try and like cast that off. But I was like, I actually can't be arsed. Like, I'm following accounts that are supposed to be for fucking, I don't know, theme park content or something. And, like, some of these dumb motherfuckers are, like, posting shit about, like, him being shot in the neck or, like, some bollocks about, like, oh, well, this is Donald Trump's America or Trumpland. Like, there's a journalist for the Irish Independent. I can't remember the motherfucker's name. Some dumbass, anyway. And his title for his, now bear in mind, right, the Irish Independent is like one of the top, like, supposed to be like news reporters in the country, but they're tied to like, you know, the news of the world and shit in the UK. So they're like part of a big global fucking news network. And the headline was Trumpland set for something post Charlie Kirk shooting or something like that. And I'm like, what kind of like professional journalist uses Trumpland as the first thing?
They're all lunatics, man.
Clearly, right? And I'm not saying I'm with or against Trump. I'm saying clearly he has made it clear that himself and the Independent are completely against everything that Trump or Republicans stand for. So they're the other way. So it's like you're trying to skew everybody towards like, this is a good thing and this is why, and then explaining like, oh, well, this is how Trump is going to capitalize on this. And
yeah, and it's crazy. And we could talk about this all day because I have certain issues with the certain messages people are putting out there. And,
bottom line, a young dude got shot in the fucking neck for absolutely nothing.
For having an opinion, and then people cheer it on. And I've said this numerous times. I've said this since the beginning of the show. Politics is fake. They always use something for an agenda. This is obviously going to be used for something. There is going to be psychological warfare. They are going to manipulate people. They are going to try to start maybe a civil war. They are going to constantly push us to fight each other and claw at each other's necks because then it serves their purpose. No matter if you're left or right. The left is definitely full of lunatics, but they've also been conditioned and brainwashed. And they even say some of the stuff that they were injecting in themselves actually like destroys your pineal gland and stuff, and actually like changes your personality. So God knows what these people like, or the poisons and the food in the sky, the stuff that they're like, all of this stuff is being used against all of us. At the end of the day, like I have criticisms of certain people and how they live and the way they act or their culture, sure. But at the end of the day, we are all human. And if we don't make this planet a livable place for all of us to coexist, especially in the polarized environment that we live in now, it's going to affect us all, and we very well might all die or all suffer in an extreme way that has never been seen in 80 years. So if people want to keep living like that and fighting each other, sure, but you're going to lose in the end.
Well, we're all going to fucking lose regardless of whether you think you're right or wrong or whatever. It's just like, I don't know, like the fucking plot of something like Interstellar is seeming more and more like a feasible thing to be like, we need to get off this rock because we're all dumb as fuck and we can't help it.
And it's crazy, dude.
I don't know, like I just, you know, all of this stuff is just kind of wild. I honestly think as well, one of the worst inventions for human beings was the fucking internet.
And I agree, but I was like, I watched that, I watched, what's his name? Theo Vaughn interview that Amish kid, and it was so wholesome and stuff. And I was like, I wish I could be Amish, but still be able to do the show. Still be able to talk about my thoughts to the world.
Yeah, it's created some great things. The fact that we're even able to do this with the technology, like you're on the other side of the world right now. We're able to be in high definition, talking, like interacting with each other. There's other people that are other parts of the world that are listening to us live. It doesn't cost them any money to listen to us. It costs us money to fucking do it, but
that's why you support us, everybody.
And it's a great thing. But then also, I just feel like for a lot of people, there's a lot of mentally ill people out there, and then there's a lot of people who have probably become mentally ill off the back of things like the internet because they become addicted to ideologies.
And AI, as we talked about with the psychosis, and like definitely because this is manipulating people's minds. Dude, even when I was growing up, it was like, I didn't get a cell phone when I was like 15 or 16, and it was just a flip phone you had to type in like MSN, and we just watched, like when YouTube came, we just watched music videos, old hip hop and all that stuff. Like we're just like, it's not like it is today. Yeah, there was crazy stuff on the internet you could find. Like there was rotten.com and weird stuff. Like I've told that story about my cousin coming to get weed at my buddy's house. This is where we'd all kind of hang out. And they were watching Two Girls, One Cup, and my cousin's like, your fucking friends are fucked. Because they're just all surrounding the computer laughing. And I'm like, what are you guys doing? And we just like picked up weed. And then they're like, check this out. And they just move, and there's just them eating it's fake poop. But it's like, that's like, and I even said to a kid at work, because like I work with a lot of guys or a small shop or whatever, but like they're 18, 19. And I'm like, you guys grew up in a different world than I did. I'm like, from the 90s to like early 2000s, yes, there was 9/11, which was a huge event that changed the world, which we're about to get into. Obviously, the Charlie Kirk thing and all that stuff is, and what's going on and the polarization of politics is definitely it was brought up for a reason because it's just crazy. It just happened. But I'm like, everything was pretty, at least in the Western world, was decently calm. And then it seems like they open up the floodgates for these crazy agendas, especially after COVID.
It's just wild, dude. Like look, maybe everyone says this about their era. Like I remember like my dad or like my grandparents and stuff talking about their era, and it was like, oh, things are more wholesome and blah, blah, blah. But I truly feel like we were probably the last age of people who like were able to see the world before like the dawn of like some sort of scary fucking.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Just the more like the internet became a thing, I really think the internet had a huge part to play in like being a tool for it. Made it so much easier to control a lot of this stuff. I think having the internet, like pre-internet, I feel like it was infinitely harder to do a lot of this or warp people's minds, or even for you to warp your own fucking mind, like you said.
Yeah, but you could argue that it was easier because people would tune into the news and believe whatever the fuck the news was saying.
Now, the flip side of that is, again, right, I'm doing an awful lot of playing devil's advocate here. The flip side of that is, like, I could argue every point you make, I could just argue that with being like, yeah, but that's what they want you to believe. And like, you could just, because I do this to myself, I'll believe something and then I'll go, they want me to believe that because that's the trick, because they're trying to like double down. And it's like, I'm doing that thing that Daphne does in fucking Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
And And you can kind of make yourself go crazy, because there's times where, like, let's say 9/11, for example. Okay, so there's people who believe still that it was the whole, like, Bin Laden, that's what happened, Taliban, blah, 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 right? Then there's people who believe that the US government were behind the whole thing.
That's
and
what
the
I thought for a long time
right?
until I started looking into this stuff.
Then there's people who believe Israel were involved. Then there's people who believe something else was involved. Then
Yeah.
people believe there's a collection of things involved. So it's like, and each one of those people can reference proof for their own argument. Like,
No,
I'm
it's
sure,
true. Yeah, it's true.
and then because how can we verify what proof is? Like, even
And
today, right?
yeah.
I was doing a lot of, like, diving into conspiracies and stuff that I had forgotten about.
Mhm.
And then, like, I was, like, reading stuff, like, what I in my head cited as, like, a reference, and I'm reading it and I'm there kind of second guessing myself, because I'm like, I kind of believe this, but I was like, I actually have no way to other than reading this, I have no way to, like, if you said to me, no man, that's fake, and I'm like, yeah, but I read it though, and like, it seems like a legit thing, and you're like, yeah, but it seems fake to me, and I'm like, so who's right then?
I know, and that's the case about a lot of the stuff in history, about like the things I even speak out against, or like embracing nationalism as care for my country and stuff like that. And it's like there's historical proof of people that wrote things down, that experienced like the first settlers, whatever, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, how can that clearly be verified though? But there is people with memories, collectively memories that are written down stuff, pass it on to their family, all that type of stuff. So you almost have to take it through your own personal people who are your ancestors or whatever, right? So and then that polarizes into another conversation, right? So how do we know what is real?
Well, this is the thing, and the other side of that is, and it ties into what you said a little while ago about the Charlie Kirk situation, which ties into, say, something like the 9/11 thing, is the fact that, I suppose, we talk about all these different, this person done it, that person was involved, somebody else done it. It still doesn't take away from the fact that on 9/11, let's say, for example, thousands of people died that had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, we're expendable. So this is the part I think people forget about a lot of these tragedies or conspiracies or whatever you want to call them, or fake things, whatever. I personally believe a lot of these things that happen, people, like, when people, like, there's conspiracies about this, for example, that, like, the two planes that crashed into the towers, they landed and they took everyone off the planes and they put them into witness protection, and then they drove the planes unmanned into the
Or was there
towers.
planes that we got videos to show? So we should probably get into
and
this
all
stuff.
this shit. But, like, I personally believe that there's a high probability that there was people on those planes and they died. And I don't mean that from the point of view, okay, so let's say there's nobody on the planes. So then, was there anybody in the towers?
Oh, we
Or did
can,
they take
yeah.
or did they take everyone out of the towers? Or were the towers a fucking hologram? Because my
That's-
aunt and uncle
yeah.
lived in New York through this.
Yeah.
So, like, they witnessed the fucking towers fall. I was on the top of the Twin Towers in 2001 when I was fucking 9 years old.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
So, like, I was there in April of that year for my birthday. I have pictures of me on top of the fucking Twin Towers. So,
That's
like,
so fucked.
the thing again, though, I think we get away from is, and while it's important to talk about a lot of these different theories and stuff, people forget, like, that there's potentially thousands and thousands of people that are just, like, the byproduct of
Some
whatever
agenda.
bullshit.
These elites, like,
It's the same as when
yeah.
they moved into the Middle East and they start these wars and they have
Yes.
reasons to start them for oil, whatever. There's probably a lot of people in those countries, though, that aren't bad people.
No, and they honestly, and then they, like, a lot of times where I see now is they blame white people all the time. Your governments did this, your people did, and it's like, I have nothing to fucking do with what Mark Carney does,
and
or
you see,
like,
there we go, right? That's, you've hit on something now. That's exactly it. So, like, it works both ways, because
Yeah.
I remember post 9/11, when I was getting up in my teenage years, I still remember it being a thing, because we went to America several times a year. I'll be honest, I've always loved America. I've
Yeah.
always loved visiting the States. I've always enjoyed my time there. I've never had any issue. But again, I have no skin in the game. It's a vacation. I get to go home. I don't have any, like, I don't have kids in school over there. I don't have to worry about a lot of things that maybe a lot of people living there do. But I remember kind of, there was a little bit of being led to believe, like, that the brown guy is the bad guy.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
Anyone that's kind of yellow, don't like them. They're the enemy. Or if you got on a plane post 9/11, I remember there's been this weird anxiety with like older Irish people have been like, who's your man with the turban?
Yeah,
And it's like, but he's probably just some fucking dude though.
I know,
And
and this is
now
what
it's the flip.
happens. Yeah.
Now it's the flip of that. All those people have been led to believe that all of us are fucking lunatics and we all want them dead, which is not the case either. Because, like you just said, I'm just a dude. I just happen to be white.
And it's the same thing. Honestly, I harp on fucking India a lot and stuff like that. And I think that a large majority, maybe of their population, has been raised in a weird caste system and this weird culture compared to ours and stuff like that. But then it is like this thing of like maybe, I don't know, 40, 50% of the population now makes the rest of them look terrible because of their behavior when they come into countries like ours because of the way they live somewhere else, right? And the same to do with Muslims and all that. They come here and they're like, this is stolen land. It's like, why the fuck are you here then? If you believe that, why the fuck are you here?
The part about it is it works out perfect for whoever's sitting at the top of that ladder.
Oh, yeah.
That's who it's working for. So it's all of us. Like you've got 12 steps
Yes.
on the ladder or whatever. There's 11 steps that we're privy to. And then
true.
the 12th and final step are the people who are laughing, going, all these dumb motherfuckers.
All right, let's get into it. In politics, nothing happens by accident. If it happens, you can bet it was planned that way. That was by Franklin D. Roosevelt. Welcome back to Strange Brew Podcast after 40 minutes of talking, where we crack open the forbidden files of history, the shadow corners of power, and the conspiracies no one else dares to speak. Today's episode, one of the most controversial probably we've ever done. We've done some other stuff. While Israel's involvement in the attacks, was Israel involved in the attacks of 9/11, 2001? Not just passively aware, but actively embedded through intelligence, media, and manipulation. Let's peel back the layers and examine the evidence and the anomalies, these players, and the motives. So let's just play. Let's get everyone in the mood. I'm gonna make you sad because this shit's fucked up. Goes on for another like 2 minutes. It'll just keep me. It'll make me depressed. For all the audio listeners, we showed a clip of a lot of the 9/11 jumpers, which is like, I watched that. I couldn't imagine being that high up. I don't even like heights, and that your only survival mechanism is to try to go where the fire isn't. So you're going towards the windows, and you're, instead of burning alive, you jump out of a window, living in fear until your death. Like essentially, like I've had weird nightmares and dreams about stuff like this. If it's like falling to your death, and it's like, to me, that's one of the scariest aspects of this, is the people who endured this death and the lives that it lost. People, family members, sons, daughters, fathers.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and that's the part that I think gets kind of missed a lot when we get into all this other shit about, oh, well, this person and that person and whatever. Like, but what about all them poor motherfuckers? Because those are the people that are closest to me and you and everybody listening.
Yeah.
That would be us if you were in that situation. Those are the fucking cops who just happen to be on shift that day, or the fire department, or people just going to work or whatever. Like, it's not any of this other like upper levels of people. It's all the dumb motherfuckers like us.
We
the
get
common
that, just
person.
like I said, what's happening in Nepal too. According to the stuff that I've looked into, that it's going crazy there, and because it's supposed to going to shut off the internet, but then a lot of people clued into the fact, like Tiana was speaking about this. She's been on the show. We've talked to have her come back. She's been very busy and stuff, but is that they're supposedly the elites let out prisoners to create chaos. And someone said that in the chat. Order of chaos is what they do. That's their motto. That's the Freemason motto. And according to a lot of people, speculate that Freemasonry is controlled by the people like the Rothschilds, the Habsburgs, like some of these royal families, some of these people that are connected to Israel and stuff. So like, it is disheartening, and it's crazy to remember this day. I remember where I was. I think I was in grade 4. And remember those like portable buildings? It's like the school got overpopulated. There's too many people in this small school now, right? They build those dumb portables. And I remember like it coming over the speaker and stuff like that. If like the World Trade Centers just got hit, and it's like, and I was very young when this happened. I was 10. And it's like, it's crazy to like remember and to see some of that footage, and the fact that like people died for somebody else's gain, for what we'll get into. And like I said, we're just speculating. This is just theory. This is a conspiracy dark comedy podcast. We're not advocating for any sort of harm on people or trying to target any certain groups of people. And like I said, if there was like Russian fingerprints all over this, I would talk about that too. But there is a lot of involvement. So let's just get into it. On the
like
morning,
what you said, not to cut you off,
Yeah.
and like what you said, we were talking about the girl getting killed a few days ago. And like I said about, well, I don't know if I was in that situation, if I'd be the hero. One thing I do know is that if I was going to do that, and you like, you said about like, oh, well, you trained to fight or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but one thing I do know that if I was somewhere and I look, chances are I would probably flip into that mode of being like, well, like, I guess I got to do something because I'm right here.
Mhm.
I would never ask the question of like, hold on, actually, what's your political stance? Like, is your like parents brown or anything? Because if they are, then I can't help.
I
that,
know.
That would
That's
never
how
fucking
certain people view it.
But
though.
that's what I
It's
mean.
crazy.
That would literally never cross my mind, because I would hope that somebody wouldn't see me in that situation and be like, well, you're white or you're Irish or you're fucking whatever, so I won't step in or I won't try and help. It's like you have said a million times before, like, we're all living here. We all need to try and live here and like figure this shit out. I know it's never going to be perfect. It's never been perfect. There's never been a time, I don't think, in history where everybody has gotten on and there's been no disputes and there's been no issues or problems and everything's perfect. That's not reality. I understand that, like, but there has to be a better way of
doing this, and we've been all manipulated. And I will be honest, right? Like a lot of people, I've been some of the stuff that people have said to me on the internet, just because of my point of view of like advocating for my own people. And I always said like, it doesn't come from a place of hatred. It actually comes from a place of love. Like, I don't hate other people. I just wanted like my kids to grow up in the Canada that I remember. And the same goes to our parents or whatever, or like Ireland, like the 80s, 90s, like that place where you could leave your fucking door unlocked, where you could leave your children out in strollers on the streets and go in and get groceries. Like, that literally happened. And a high trust society. And for me to want that for my own kids is crazy. And then people think that I'm like insensitive or intolerant. And then it's funny, the same people that claim to be so tolerant and claim to be, that you have to respect my feelings and the ways I think, cheer when somebody else that they don't like dies. That's a sickness. You're sick in the head. You have something mentally fucking wrong with you. Your soul is damaged. That inside part of you that cheers for death and destruction, you're never getting that back. You're never getting that wholesome, good aspect of you back, because you've advocated now for death of other people because of your beliefs. Right? I think that, sure, like, people in power that commit these atrocities and create order out of chaos need to be held accountable. But the fact that people will cheer on like I said, if it was Oprah, I mean, not Oprah, but I said Whoopi Goldberg, like some of these leftists, I was trying to think of someone and I thought of like Hillary Clinton. I'd be like, that's fucked up. Like, you know, you could say maybe she deserved it, but Charlie Kirk was just a guy talking. He didn't have a hit list of people that he was attacking and stuff like that. So I'm like, it's weird that people advocate for the deaths of people because they didn't like their opinion. He didn't kill anybody. He didn't stab anybody in the neck. He didn't abuse anybody. You know what I mean? Verbally abuse, maybe. It's the same people think words are violence, and then they'll commit violence when they are hurt by words, and it's sick, right? So let's get into it because like it's so crazy, the stuff that's going on. So, you know, this is a weird thing, right? Like on 9/11, on the morning, as Americans watched in horror as the Twin Towers burned, a strange scene unfolded across the Hudson River in New Jersey. 5 men, all Israeli nationalists, were filming the buildings burning. Eyewitnesses report they were smiling, high-fiving, and celebrating. One woman called the police and said they were like happy, you know? They didn't look like they were shocked to me. I thought it was very strange. These men were detailed by the FBI later that day. They worked for a company called Urban Moving Systems, operated by an Israeli man named Dominic Sutter. The FBI later raided the company, and Sutter fled the country back to Israel 2 days later. They always seem to flee back to the country. After 71, this is like that pedophile that people think Trump protected. After 71 days in FBI custody, the men were quietly deported. No charges. I thought it was, I guess that was about 4 months. But I guess that's kind of like 3 months, whatever. No charges, no full public explanation. And in an Israeli interview, one of the men said, "We were there to document the event." What? What are we documenting? How would they know this? Was this coincidence? Because of social media, propaganda is nonstop purity test and influence of everyone to see whose side you're on. You have to remember the internet was initially created by the military. DARPA, yes, that is very true. So we'll play 2 clips to get through some of these because both of these are very, they tie into what we're talking about. So you can literally hear the woman that claimed to see these men.
In the days after the September attacks, there were countless rumors about strange coincidences surrounding the events. One report about a group of Middle Eastern men spotted the morning of September 11th parked just across the river from New York City has not gone away. Investigation of their presence has led to questions about whether Israel was conducting espionage on U.S. soil. We're joined now by ABC's John Miller with an exclusive report this evening.
That's right, Elizabeth. This is a case that took the FBI and the CIA more than 2 months to sort out, while 5 Israelis waited in jail. It began when this woman was watching the Twin Towers burning from her apartment in New Jersey. She noticed 3 men on top of a van, posing for pictures with the towers burning in the background.
And I could see that they were like happy. You know, they didn't look shocked to me. You know, they didn't look shocked. I thought it was very strange.
The witness called police, who stopped the van hours later and arrested 5 men. All 5, it turns out, were Israeli. They were turned over to the FBI. Sources tell ABC News, during a check of national security databases, some of the men were listed as having had connections with Israeli intelligence. At the FBI, that set off alarm bells. The FBI needed the answers to 3 important questions. Who were these men? What brought them to that parking lot on the morning of September 11th? And did they have any advance knowledge of what was going to happen that day?
That's crazy, dude. Like, and I didn't know this stuff. And to be honest, since I was a young teenager, I believed it was an inside job. We always I listened to people like Vinny Paz and Immoral Technique Man. His viewpoints and his music, I don't agree with everything he says. He was actually a supporter of communism earlier on in his career. I don't know if he is now, but he's an interesting character. Like, I like Immoral Technique. And he has that 9/11 song. I can't remember the name. Someone in the chat might know. And he talks about 4 non-Arabs arrested during the emergency, and it disappeared from the news permanently. And it was it's interesting that he didn't mention who it was, but then he did say the Taliban was trained by the Israeli military. So I'm hearing this song when I'm like 14 or 15, right? And then you start to look into stuff like this, right? Did you know no U.S. sailors witnessed the secret burial of Osama bin Laden? The U.S. government has not provided a single photo or proof or video proof of bin Laden's body, an autopsy report of a death certificate or DNA results, and refuses to do so. So there's people that speculate that he was a CIA informant. So there's Navy SEALs knew that they didn't kill Osama bin Laden and that it was all a hoax. And it's pretty strange because he had ties. Look at it. If these are real, I don't know if they are. But it's him with Obama, Hillary Clinton, and of course she's wearing Jewish star necklace. Like these could be faked for sure. But one thing I do believe that he probably was an informant. He was close with the Bush family, and they were used as freedom fighters to fight against the Russians, the Soviets, and stuff like that. And the Taliban was actually trained by the Israeli military, and his code name supposedly Tim Osman, and which is very weird. When and there is even people like Moral Technique were claiming that some of the footage that we saw of like him in a cave was all set up, and they actually dubbed a tape of Osama bin Laden talking about the attacks. And look at the difference between that. Like there's very sketchy things going on with Osama. And there's supposedly even this letter. The course of the policies of the present administration in several areas clearly reveal that whoever enters the White House, even with good intentions to safeguard the people's interest, is no more than a trained operator. His only task is to keep the train on the tracks that are laid down by the lobbyists in New York and Washington to serve their interests first. Even if it is the counter to your security and economy, any president who tries to move the train from the lobbyist tracks to a track for Americans' interest will confront a very strong opposition and pressures from the lobbyists. Your president described the decisions by the court in favor of corporations to intervene in political arena as a victory. It is not a victory for the American people except for the big corporations. There is no doubt about it. It is a right, and it is also a right for the administration to support the oppressive Israelis for their continued occupation of our land and the killing of our brothers, marking a victory for the Jewish lobby. The president was not able to defend you against the security and economic loss. The way for change is freeing yourselves from the pressures of the lobbyists, is not through the Republican or Democratic parties, but through and so you get the point that supposedly this is something that he wrote after 9/11.
It's kind of spooky. I
is.
do know.
What do you think about Osama bin Laden? Because I
don't know, dude. Like I remember growing up, and like it was always like led to believe that like, oh, that's what I meant about like the turban thing, for example. It was like that's the scary, like that's what all the the image on the left there, like that was growing up what you were led to believe the bad guy always looked like. He always wore like a camouflage jacket and a fucking turban or whatever, or like some sort of that literally that. Like I remember that being like the thing of like, there's who you should fear. Those are the guys who were like in the Middle East in the fucking caves and whatever.
I listened to one of his speeches in a who knows if it's real, but it was like a speech of him talking translated through AI, and I'm like, I don't know. There's some weird stuff about that whole thing. And he was trained. He was an informant. There's documented proof of this. A lot of people have pointed this. There's evidence of this. He did work for the Bushes. See, the U.S. dumped his body in the ocean. I heard, right, the CIA saw him on dialysis in like 1997, right? Moral Technique claimed this stuff. I just will point to him. A lot of people believe that he died beforehand. Like he actually died either just after 9/11 or so, or he actually died prior to, and they just used him.
Which is quite plausible, but again, like to play devil's advocate, the first thing someone will say was like, well, where's the proof of that? And technically speaking, from a grassroots level, which is like where all the average man, woman, person is dealing with, we're all at the grassroots level, so we will never truly know the truth. You can take on information and make up your own mind, but you nor I nor anybody that will ever listen to this ever in existence at our level of like human being will ever truly know the answer. Now, the one thing I will say is mad sketchy. Like a person that was the most wanted man on the planet for fucking 10, 11 years. It is very bizarre to me that you would capture him, shoot him in the head and then throw him off a cliff.
Yeah, I know.
It's a very weird like way to go about. Like
the CIA supposedly visited him. They were in contact with him. He was on dialysis. He was dying.
But even aside from that, right? So let's just even let's say, right, the narrative of like, oh yeah, they raided his place, and so the story was supposed to be like they raided the place, and he was cowering behind one of his wives. And
his many wives.
They point blank shot him in the head, and then they brought his body off and threw it off a cliff into the ocean, right?
Yeah.
And my question with that is though, what's the purpose of executing him on the spot and then firing him off a cliff? I just don't understand. What's the thought process there with that? I don't know. Why are we throwing him off a cliff and stuff?
Yeah, Adam Green's actually been on the show. You can go find that. You probably know of Adam Green, but back in 2019, he reviewed the heavily redacted FOIA
Information Act for you.
Photos that sexually attained. Don't know if you ever saw those, but they're actually
sent so out. What are they? Of Bin Laden?
It further implicates Israel. Adam Green does some good work. I don't agree necessarily with everything he says or Dustin Nemoy's or any of the people, but they're interesting.
There is another thing you were talking about, the dancing Israelis or whatever, and you were talking about them being quoted as saying,
"Yes, let's play that clip first. It's very short, so here, listen to this shit."
The men who were detained due to the report they were taping the first plane crash and then celebrating and joking about it actually went on television and admitted it was their job to record the attack.
And at that point we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad. The fact of the matter is we are coming from a country that experiences terror daily. Our purpose was to document the event.
They literally admitted to it on live television, which is the crazy, and who knows if that is doctored or what. Yeah. But the fact that they were questioned, there was bomb residue in the van, they had a lot of implications that they were doing something weird, and then they just sent them back home.
See, there's a lot of weird things about that though. So there's another quote that when they got stopped by the cop in New Jersey or whatever later that day, supposedly the first thing they said was, "We are Israeli. We are not your problem. Your problems are our problems. The Palestinians are the problem."
Yeah, that's crazy, dude.
But again, nuts. Like, I mean, that again, we could argue and say, well, was that ever said? Was that a thing?
And that's what it all is. So let's talk intelligence, which most people seem not to have nowadays. Mossad and Israel's elite spy agency is considered one of the most capable and well-connected intelligence services on Earth, and yet somehow they missed a massive multi-year plot by Saudi nationalists using a U.S. flight school. This is very weird. Multiple reports suggest Mossad did have foreknowledge. A joint U.S.-Israel intel program called Able Danger was reported tracking al-Qaeda's operations months before the attacks. In August 2001, Israel allegedly warned the United States of an imminent attack was coming, but no specifications were given. Critics argue if Mossad had infiltrated al-Qaeda cells, they almost certainly had. They likely would have known more and they would have said more. The question is, what did they know and why didn't they say more? It's very weird. And this is one that is always interesting to me. So months before 9/11, over 100 Israeli nationalists were reported impersonating art students. Over 100. That's pretty crazy. Attempting to enter federal buildings, DA offices, and private homes of law enforcement across the United States. Internal DEA reports show concerns that these were not actually art students, but covert intelligence agents. They were like trying to get into buildings, questioning people coming in. Many of them live in the same cities as the 9/11 hijackers, sometimes in the same neighborhoods. Fox News journalist Carl Cameron even ran a now scrubbed 4-part series on this. In one segment, he stated, Evidence is linking the Israelis to 9/11 is classified. I cannot tell you what that is. Why is it classified? Why deport them quietly after no like actual investigation? And the crazy thing is, even Alex Jones, right? As much as he seems to maybe be, I was surprised that people can think or believe what they want about some of these people. I don't mind Jake Shields. I think he's trying. A lot of other people think, maybe he's part of it. Everyone thinks that everyone's part of it. But he went on InfoWars and distinctly said certain stuff that you could tell was making Alex uncomfortable. And now Alex Jones is starting to kind of question what is going on, but he often kind of caters to the other narrative of it's all Muslims and all that stuff. And I'm saying there's good and bad in all groups of people everywhere, no matter who you are. But he recently started to shift the other way slightly. So, when this came out, he even, was it Just When I Can? He talked about how there was involvement from Israel. Like he was one of the first people in the conspiracy world to point in that direction.
For me, Jake is fine. I was a fan of him, like when he was in Strike.
You met
Force
him, didn't you?
and, like in the UFC and stuff. Yeah, he's kind of brain dead, I'll be honest. Probably from too many punches that I had. But the thing I don't like about somebody like Jake is, he doesn't, in my opinion, he doesn't really have the ability to even attempt to see the other side of any argument. Like he already has his mind made up in his head, and it's like I don't think he's willing to like hear anything else. And I'm not saying that I'm right or he's wrong or I don't agree with a lot of what he says, but I've seen him at times, like if someone pushes back, he tends to be very rigid in like, no, I believe what I believe and no one's going to tell me. I don't need any other information because I've already made my decision.
No, like I agree, right? Like I push back a lot about what's going on in Canada and stuff like that, or the idea of stolen land. But would I debate someone that is native or about that? Sure, I would, and I would hear their points.
Do you think though that anybody could ever? I don't know. Actually, no, that's the wrong way of framing it. Changing your mind. Like, do you honestly think you would be open to the idea of there being another version of what the truth might be in any topic?
Yeah. For sure, and I've said that. But would I push back with regards of what I have learned and just being objectively? For sure, right? Because I believe everything is skewed into a narrative and stuff like that. And of course, they're trying to pit people against each other and stuff like that. But there is concerning things that are coming out against certain people or certain things that are going on. And I'm here to advocate for myself, my future, and my own people, and that's not hatred towards others at the end of the day, right? Like I've said, we've had like I have a buddy that's Asian that is actually like loves the red ensign flag and Canada and embraces our like nationalism and our identity of who we are. I talk with tons of different people that are all sort of ethnic groups. I've friends with I have friends that are Indian. I have friends that are black, white, native, like throughout my life, right? We had Alex on the show. He was half black. Like, I don't have nothing against anybody, but I will advocate for my own people. And I don't think that's a wrong thing to do considering everybody else is allowed to, right? And we are the real worldwide minority. So I always bring that up because it's like, that's a weird thing that people always try to frame as, oh, you're hateful because of that. And it doesn't even make sense. Just because people have been conditioned, right? But I've literally asked people to debate. I said, if you want to debate me, send me an email through the show or whatever, and I'll bring you on the show and we can have a calm, honest debate about things. Even when I had Adrian the Realist on, a native guy, I was more trying to bridge a gap. Like I wasn't going to try to debate whether it's stolen land or this or that. I just wanted to bridge that gap of like, hey, the natives and the white people that built Canada need to find common ground because this is going to destroy us all, right? So let's talk about urban moving systems, right? So, founded by Dominic Sutter, an Israeli nationalist, this company was supposed to be a simple moving business, but evidence points to a cover for intelligence works. Employees spoke Hebrew on site. Financial records were incomplete. Surveillance equipment was found. FBI documents later revealed the company was being watched prior to 9/11, and the 5 dancing Israelis, quotations, were suspected Mossad agents operating under deep cover. Yet again, no investigation, just silence, redaction, and deportation. And they protected them, for sure. And the thing is, too, at the end of the day, right, that's sketchy as fuck that they, like, knew what was going on. And I heard that 2 of them were Mossad agents. Not all of them, but 2 at least were Mossad agents. So, yeah, we can debate all day who's behind this, but it's quite obvious they're trying to bifurcate? Is that a word? I've never seen that word in my life. The world into fighting each other so everyone will beg for the I've always said that is the idea of, like, they want people to beg for the solution from the problem that they created. You get everyone to like David Icke coined that problem reaction solution. He didn't coin, but
that's what I was literally going to say. Problem reaction solution. And that's the thing. And this is a pretty, maybe he didn't, because he probably took this from, like, the business world. So if you listen to a lot of successful businessmen, women, whatever, their number one thing that they say is what you need to do to become successful in business and have a long lasting business is you need to solve a problem for people. So what better way to do that than create a problem for them that they think is a big issue, and then have the solution to it. So, like, even in business terms, if I just told you, oh, Tom, like, you wear hats, and isn't it so bad when, like, your hat gets creased or it looks fucked up? But guess what? I've developed this thing that you can buy off me, and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I've given you a solution to a problem that you didn't have in the first place.
Oh, you're sick from an imaginary virus.
Yeah, and it's just like I've manufactured this bullshit thing.
It's happening all the time, dude. And it's, I've always quoted that. And the thing is, like, I know that maybe there's people that you're coming into this. I've been doing this. I've been aware of this stuff since I was, like, at least 17. I was anti-government since I was 14, right? I listened to Anti-Flag, which is now kind of so. I've mentioned this on the podcast numerous times. I was always aware that the people in power were never doing stuff in our best interest. I was never really someone that was like, yeah, like pro this or pro that or whatever, right? And I've been doing this a long time. We've been doing the show for 7 years now, but like Billy can advocate for me. I was 18, 19, being like, the reptilians are controlling the world. You know, I was saying some maybe outlandish shit. I was young. I was looking into aliens and a lot of conspiracy stuff, but I was fairly young. I've been doing this for at least 17 years at this point of questioning what's going on and being at least kind of vocal about it. And sure, it was, I started looking at conspiracy theories really when I was like 17, 16, but like a lot of people are just getting into this stuff, right?
And it's always been that way. That's the other thing. Like it's literally always been that way. Like maybe it seems more prevalent now because of the internet and there's so much access to information. And then the other side of that is there's so much room for like fucking other shit as well. So not only, right, you could like, because a lot of people make the argument, yeah, but so what the government does is the government's like will put in fake conspiracies or fake stuff to throw you off the scent of the real trail.
That's what some of the chat say. It's like, right? Look over here, the sleight of hand kind of
right? Now,
trick, right?
The other side of that is the argument I would make is there's a lot of people like us as well who also create fucking storylines in their head. And then it like, so all of a sudden, like I could create some storyline about what happened to Charlie Kirk this week. And if that got traction online, all of a sudden it goes viral overnight. And now all of a sudden it's fact.
Yeah, I know, right?
And you don't need to fact check anything anymore. You don't have to fact check anything because you can just say,
I've said this numerous times.
It's all fake news and lies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know. The book publisher on September 9th called The Assassination of Charlie Kirk. I thought when I saw that stuff where these books are coming out on Amazon, supposedly, I'm like, this could be a trick. They could have got AI to write out a book, God knows, and then to trick people. Everything's a trick. right? Like, I don't know. There's a lot of weird things that are going on.
Did you ever hear of a name, Daniel Lewin?
No.
So I didn't know this until earlier on, but apparently he's a key figure in the events of September 11th, some believe. Even though his name is not widely known as some others, his story can be deeply significant depending on the story you believe. He is believed to have been the first person to die in the 9/11 attacks. He was born in Denver, Colorado, raised primarily in Israel. After his family moved there when he was a teenager, military service. He served in Israel's elite counterterrorism unit, the same one that produced several top Israeli leaders. He co-founded Alchemy Technology, a content delivery network company that became a major player in the internet's infrastructure. On the morning of September 11th, he boarded American Airlines Flight 11 from Boston to Los Angeles. He was seated in business class seat 9B, just ahead of suspected hijackers. According to the official accounts, when they initiated their takeover, he attempted to stop them. Reports suggest he was stabbed in the plane, or stabbed while on the plane, possibly in the neck, by one of the hijackers. Flight attendants reported a passenger had been killed early in the hijacking. The FBI later identified it as Daniel. Based on the timeline, he is believed to have been the first fatality on the day. He wasn't just a passenger. It seems that he was a trained Israeli counterterrorism. He had a tactical background, and this may have led him to react when the hijacking began.
Okay, fine. We'll get in. If you want to get into that stuff, listen to this.
No, but it's just very strange that, like, you mentioned Israel and stuff. I'm not saying this or that, no, but there is a lot of weird, like...
Listen to this, though.
The voice of the hijacker heard from the hijacked plane's voice recorder reveals that the accent of the hijacker matches an Israeli Hebrew accent.
The next transmission comes seconds later.
FBI Director Mueller, BBC News, and ABC have confirmed that 7 of the 19 Muslims whose mugshots were flashed around the world did not die in the 911 crashes. They are alive and well and are victims of identity theft. An 8th accused Muslim died 1 year before the 911 hijackings even occurred. Who stole their identities, and why isn't the FBI looking for them? If the hijackers really were Muslims, why would they steal the identities of fellow Muslims and implicate them? Wouldn't they be more likely to steal Israeli identities and put the blame on Israelis? If the hijackers were Israelis, wouldn't they be likely to steal the identities of Muslims and put the blame on Muslims?
Yeah, it's so weird. And imagine, like, here is I'm trying to find where's that one? Of Muhammad Atta, where they found his, like, passport, like, in the rubble. And that's just so weird. He's probably, like, sitting at home, like, you know, with his many child wives. And it's like, that's not me. What? I wasn't there. You know, he's like, just freaking out.
That was actually something I had gotten earlier on about, like, the recovery of the hijacker passports being one of the most widely cited oddities by skeptics.
So weird.
And researchers. On the surface, this does seem improbable, although let's break down why it's controversial and the official explanation. So one of the hijackers on American Airlines Flight 11, the plane that hit the North Tower, a passport in his name was recovered near the World Trade Center, reportedly found intact on the street by a passerby.
Yeah, of course.
Collapsed.
Yeah.
It was handed to an NYPD detective on the ground. The idea that a passport, a small flammable paper document, could survive a massive fireball and building collapse while steel and black boxes were destroyed seems extraordinarily unlikely. 2 to 3 other hijacker passports were reportedly recovered as well from Flight 11, one at the Flight 93 crash site in Pennsylvania, and one reportedly from Flight 77.
How does that happen? How does that happen?
So the FBI referenced these recoveries in congressional testimony and internal documents. These passports were used to help identify the hijackers quickly in the days after the attacks. What makes it so suspicious for many? Extreme heat and destruction. Jet fuel burns at anywhere from 980 to 1500 Fahrenheit. The Towers were reduced to ash and molten metal, yet a passport floats onto the street. The cockpit voice recorders and flight data recorders from the World Trade Center planes were never recovered, supposedly destroyed or unrecoverable. But paper passports made it out. This feels backwards for many people. The passport was reportedly found before either tower collapsed, suggesting that it somehow escaped the cabin before or during impact. So now this is the commission report or whatever.
Yeah.
The FBI has never really publicly explained exactly how they survived, but the implied logic that has been put out there is the plane's fuselage disintegrated on impact, and some lightweight materials like paper were blown clear of the fireball and thrown from the building or exploded forward. Paper can, in very specific cases, survive blasts when heavier or more fire-susceptible materials do not, due to its weight, position, and air resistance. Investigators suggest the passport was ejected from the crash, possibly through the building structure, and fell to the ground before fire could take hold. This is possible scientifically, but admittedly extremely highly improbable. The odds of this happening, the odds of a paper passport surviving a 500 mile per hour impact, jet fuel explosion, and firestorm and landing intact on the street are extraordinarily low, but not zero. That slim margin of plausibility is what official accounts lean on and what skeptics raise eyebrows to.
Sorry, I was laughing at everyone in the Rumble chat is talking about pears. It's like, what are you guys doing over there? Rumble's it's so weird, dude, man. Like, how do a passport disappears? That's why I joke about like the fact that, like, imagine you're like in your weird shack
here's something else I thought about, right? Just
in like you're in like a Sudan, I don't know, like whatever, Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan. You're like, or Egypt. You're like, what the fuck?
So
I wasn't doing that.
they've kind of, well, they haven't said anything, but like scientists or whatever have said like that it's pretty impossible that this would happen. It's not completely impossible, but there's probably less than 0.0001% chance, right?
Mhm.
Of a passport being able to survive something like that. Now, the part I really struggle to think is, right, if that were to happen in one case, right?
Yeah, just
You had
one.
so you had two planes hit the towers, right? One each. You had one crash, United 93 crashed into the fucking field in Pennsylvania. And then you had the other one apparently crashes into the Pentagon. Not only is it pretty much like as close as you could possibly get to zero, the chances of a passport surviving any of this, how the fuck did it happen to survive at the Trade Center, Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
And the fucking Pentagon.
I don't know, man. It's crazy, man. There's a guy being like with his 3 9-year-old wives being like, fucking his goat or something. And he's like, I was here the whole time. Is that okay?
Right.
I was like, I could only do so. I was like, can I do an Arabic accent? I was here the whole time. Me and my 9-year-old wife.
That sounded like kind of Asian or something, dude.
Yeah. Never going to be good at accents. I got to keep
You
trying.
were talking about the hijackers being found to be alive or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I was reading some stuff on that. Several mainstream media outlets, including the BBC, The Guardian, and The Telegraph, reported that some of the men identified by the US government as hijackers were still alive and living in the Middle East. For example, a man named Walid al-Shari reportedly contacted a Saudi newspaper and said, I am alive and well, I had nothing to do with this.
Crazy.
Similarly, Saeed al-Ghamedi was reportedly alive and living in North Africa. These stories sparked widespread speculation that the hijackers were using stolen identities or were patsies in a deeper operation. As later confirmed by the FBI, Saudi intelligence, and Western investigators, the confusion was officially said to be due to common names. The names on the hijackers list were very common Arabic names, similar to John Smith or Michael Johnson in English-speaking countries. Many innocent people shared the same names, similar ages, and even facial features. Early media reports used
Everybody's name is Muhammad.
databases, passport records, and unverified photos. Journalists were under intense pressure to report quickly, and some mistakes were made in the rush. Some hijackers used false or stolen identities, further confusing investigators in the days following the attacks. The FBI re-verified the identities of all 19 hijackers through flight manifests, passport and visa records, travel histories, financial transactions, surveillance footage, DNA evidence from crash sites. The 9/11 Commission report confirmed the identities of all 19 hijackers and included detailed biographies of each. These confused identities were fully resolved, and no credible evidence has ever emerged since that the hijackers had survived the attacks.
Don't get on Aaron for his cadence and his voice. He's Irish. He's very soft demeanored in the way he speaks, you piece of shit.
He's talking through a pillow. What does that mean?
Just because your cadence of your voice is you're very like calm speaking. Hence why fans have said that you should make an audio book they can fall asleep to.
Do I sound too? Is it because I sound too muffled, or I'm talking too low?
We'll ask this this Canadian.
Ask this fucking Mong. Fripp 81 Mongoloid. Am I too low? Am I not excited enough, or is it a microphone issue?
I think it's just because I'm so amped up all the time, and that's what balances us.
Am I any different when I do that?
Just you start yelling at it.
Look at that shit. That looks like the worst microphone ever.
It is, weird that it looks like that, dude. Is that what that $500 mic looks like?
I mean, I could use that one. I don't know if that makes any difference.
An audio book. You should read the Tom Mood so people know how disgusting it is. Yeah, it can't be digestible. Better.
Oh, perfect. Okay, maybe it's the
or maybe you just gotta get close to your fucking mouth. I don't know.
I don't know. Is it this shit? I thought like I was too loud, so I was like, this mic's too loud, so I'll put this big massive fucking
No, that
thing.
makes sense, dude. And no wonder our audio has been so weird. Yeah, to get rid of that thing. Throw it in the garbage. I used to use those, and when I noticed it didn't do anything when I was like recording hip hop, it doesn't do shit. I record my music better. Everyone's like better. That's hilarious.
Fuck you all.
So next move, we have Larry Silverstein, a real estate he was a very rich man, right, who acquired a 99-year lease on the World Trade Center complex just 6 weeks before 9/11. He insured it for billions, specifically against acts of terrorism. On the day of 9/11, Silverstein claimed he told the FDNY, the FDA, to pull it. Referring to Building 7, which collapsed hours later without being hit by a plane. That phrase, pull it, has ignited endless debates amongst, people who, demolition experts, architects, and truth seekers. Was it a slip? Was it a confession? Silverstein is often cited in a broader conspiracy, allegedly a Zionist profiteer from 9/11. He was Jewish. That's a fact. It's the foam for sure. Everyone's agreeing. Who the fuck told this man? That's hilarious because I'm pretty sure that's from Ghostbusters. No, is it? Maybe I'm wrong. The AI Oceans 9/11. The AI Oceans 9/11 video is fucking hilarious. I've never seen that. Lucky Larry. Yeah, Lucky Larry, man. Insures the towers. We need to get to some of these videos. So I'm just going to. How about this one? This is weird. Was it a ritual? Did they, I believe they give us information.
Do you know what the other side of that Silverstein pullet comment is, though? Again, I'm going to do devil's advocate here, and everyone's going to hate me during this episode just because I'm doing this. So that pullet quote, there was a documentary I did write this down somewhere, 2002 on PBS called America Rebuilds, and he was interviewed on it, and he said, people are taking that out of context. I remember getting a call from the fire department commander. I said, we've had such a terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is just pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and we watched the building collapse. So apparently what he said was he didn't mean pull it as a demolition thing. He said they were fighting the fires inside, and he was getting constant feedback about, this is just fucking, we're up against like a brick wall.
Why is there so many Jewish fingerprints, bro?
Now it is like, I'm not saying that makes it okay or anything, but it is kind of weird. And supposedly as well, after remember the 1993 World Trade Center bombing?
Yeah.
So after that, apparently, terrorism insurance was like a common thing in large commercial
and I've
real
always
estate.
said, like,
So it wasn't like I'm just playing devil's advocate, but like the argument there is that this wasn't an exclusive thing that he came up, like he didn't just come up with this and say, you know what, I think I'll come up with terrorism insurance. This was something that was common in large
I think he had
commercial
advanced
properties.
knowledge. Like, how the fuck is it? So if it was 2 years before, 5 years, whatever, it was like a couple, if it were 2 weeks beforehand.
Well, the only thing about it is, right,
he was
so
Jewish, he was Israeli, he was part of it.
So he signed the lease, what, like 6 weeks before or something like that. And the paperwork hadn't all gone through either. So that created a lot of legal issues for him. And he actually, like, straight away pretty much had plans to rebuild. So it wasn't like he just went, blow them up and let me take all the money and just disappear.
Think of it. Listen, look at the towers now. They are inverted cubes. It can go back to the black cube of the Saturn cult. You know, I like Max Igor, is that his name? I can't remember. Is it Max Igor? Let's play his clip, whatever, fuck it.
Book in 1995, and I said that if the West doesn't wake up to the suicidal nature of militant Islam, the next thing you'll see is the militant Islam is bringing down the World Trade Center.
Nice prediction there, just a bit of psychic, was he? You know, like Israel did 9/11. It's got Israeli fingerprints all over it, and with any of that sort of stuff, you just got to say, you know, Q bono, who benefits? And the only people who benefited from 9/11 is Israel, and even Benjamin Netanyahu said that as well. So the one thing we are benefiting from at the moment is the attack on the World Trade Center.
Netanyahu said, quote, "We're benefiting from one thing, and that is the attack on the Twin Towers and Pentagon and the American struggle in Iraq."
I mean, they do these false flag attacks all the time. How much evidence do people need? And what would be the benefit for the Arab world blowing up Twin Towers? I mean, how have they benefited from this? Have a look at Iraq. Have a look at what we've done to the Arab world since that event happened. And look what Israel has got from that event happening. And ask yourself, who benefits?
Oh my God. Yeah, but then that side exploded. How did that side explode? Blew up.
Witnessing that shit would be
Dude, that
fucking...
shit still gives me chills when I see
too.
videos like that, though. Because
It's
again,
fucked,
like I
dude.
said, aside from all the like conspiracy of like who done it,
Yeah,
who
Max
didn't do
Egan.
it, it's fucking scary
Yes,
to think that
awesome.
like people lived through that. Imagine witnessing that in person. Like imagine being within, you know, a certain area of that, like, and looking up and seeing that shit. It's quite wild. Like, I mean, and I'm sure you can probably relate to this a lot more than I can, but like from any experience I've had in Canada or the States or any big city, like when I look at a massive structure like that, I can't picture like how fucking wild that must have been. It must have been like
to
being
witness
in a horror
that, yo,
movie.
witnessing like the CN Tower just exploding.
Like it's fucking wild. It's like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah. That's crazy. Can't believe that prick is still alive, 94. I'm blessed to afford kids. Yo, yeah, they're talking about Larry Silverstein. Fucking, I know. Is he still alive? I'm pretty sure he is. So is it some sort of, following 9/11 media coverage rapidly focused on bin Laden, Saddam Hussein, and Islam extremism, not the Saudi origins of most hijackers, which is weird. And that's what we're talking about, like Wesley Clark, who said, oh, I had this dossier or whatever on my desk, and we were going to attack 7 different countries. And it was like Afghanistan, Iraq, Saudi, I don't think it was Saudi Arabia. And then Libya, Syria, like all these countries they attack, and they said Iran was the last one on the list. And look where we are today. And most certainly they didn't explicitly talk about the Israeli connections. Why? Because many claim the U.S. media outlets are owned and influenced by pro-Israel interests. Major networks, Hollywood studios, influential think tanks all have Zionist affiliations and financial backers. The Project for a New America Century, PNAC, PNAC, a neoconservative think tank whose members include Richard Pearl, Paul Wolfowitz, if you guys don't know his name, look him up, Douglas Filth, pushed for a regime change in Iraq long before 9/11. And they even wrote that we needed a new Pearl Harbor to galvanize the public in support. And they got it. Literally, we all went, even the Canadian military went to fucking Afghanistan. You know, Jeremy McKenzie, someone we've had on the show. Some of that a lot of the media does not like in Canada is, a staunch nationalist that cares for his country. He went to Afghanistan and had to witness his friends dying for what they perceived as this idea of fighting for, hey, if we don't fight them over there, they're going to come over here, right? And the and we went for peacekeeping while they were looking over poppy fields of heroin, and now we have this fentanyl crisis. There's a lot of questions that should be asked. We have to get through some of these videos. So think about this, right? Look at this. Was it all some sort of ritual?
Word. Hit. Yes, hit. Boys and girls, sound this word out. Get ready. Steal. What word? Steal. Yes, steal. Read these words the fast way. Get ready. Play. Yes, playing. Get ready. Must. Yes, must. Let's read these words the fast way without making a mistake. Get ready. Kite. Yes, kite. Get ready. Kit. Yes, kit. Get ready. Steal. Yes, steal. Get ready.
Yeah.
Yes, play. Get ready. Must. Yes, must.
They rub it. They love to rub it in our faces, John.
That's weird. So everybody, that's when George Bush was doing that reading. Of course, it's at some, these are just black students. You know what I mean? It's obviously more of the agenda and stuff like that. And it's just interesting how it's all these young African Americans being plane, hit, steal. It's and I believe this is, according to the books I read, part of the Karmactic rule is they have to tell you what they're doing, their operations and stuff like that. We're going to play a clip. This is about 4 minutes. This is what happens when we do live streams and I have a couple of drinks. I have to piss. So if you have to go, it's 4 minutes. You have that time limit. And we're going to try to finish up this and wrap it up. I have a bunch of other videos to show and maybe we can kind of breeze through these. But this is the idea that it was a hologram. So it will be interesting what people think.
The 9/11 airplane videos are video composites. We know this because of the cartoon physics and from a few mistakes that are found in them. More on the mistakes in a moment. Here are the basics of how compositing works. Compositing is done by arranging video elements in a stack of layers. Some part of the top layer is made transparent, revealing the next layer underneath. Beginning with a stock 3D model of a Boeing 767, the plane is rotated so that it banks left. It's color corrected, motion blurred, scaled down, and animated. The rest of the layer is transparent, so it appears to fly in front of the tower. But how does the compositor know exactly where in time to place the airplane? A little too early or late would cause a discrepancy with the different angles. How can all the airplane overlays be synchronized? If the airplane goes too far, oops, it looks like it comes out the back side. To prevent this from happening, a mask can be drawn on the airplane layer. The south tower is in the center of the frame. The left half of the screen is masked off. The airplane goes in, and we never see it again. Under certain conditions, faking an airplane on live TV is pretty easy. Under other conditions, it's impossible. Only 3 9/11 airplane videos are confirmed to have been shown live. ABC Chopper 7, Fox Chopper 5, and WPIX. None of them actually shows an airplane hitting anything. The camera op on board Chopper 5 was WNYW reporter Kai Simonson.
Well, I knew that the plane was coming in because the pilot told me. Well, the pilot said that the guy was flying really low, and he was heading for the tower.
The obvious thing then would be to point the camera at the airplane and follow it. Instead, Simonson zooms, and zooms, framing a shot of the towers. The airplane image enters the picture within one video frame. That's 1/30th of a second. What are the odds of that?
That's fucking weird, eh? Like he points to that guy he was not just an independent journalist. He actually advertised that he had experience in green screen special effects at the time. Okay, very weird for a journalist to say that. And he was like, "Well, there's no proof of that. You can speculate anything or whatever." And there was people that say that they saw the plane go through the other side into the other building. And to me, I've questioned a lot of things. The idea that they maybe superimposed footage afterwards, even footage that people took themselves, is a weird thing. And it could be like, oh, we need all the footage that anybody had on the ground. They put an advertisement for it. They're like, oh, we need all the footage that people have captured on the ground or whatever, and they superimpose planes on it. There's an interesting take to that because in the first video, you see when it was silent, hopefully I had this out of the audio, but you'll see it looks like a little fart. It's like you see it like exploding up top, but then you literally see like an explosion in the side. That's not a coincidence. That's definitely some sort of explosive. And then there was this idea that there was people found, maybe the art students, I think, that were found with propelling harnesses, right? So there's all these like kind of weird coincidences when it comes to this whole thing of what happened. And, you know, I still have even more clips, but I just wanted to point out that, like, imagine that, right? Imagine if, like, there's people that speculate that there wasn't even planes involved. And because they condition us and tell us that there was, that they convince people, hey, like, you know, there was planes, it wasn't just explosions, where maybe because there was people and firefighters on the ground that claim other things that were going on, right? So it's very weird.
Yeah.
Also, I want to add this. Someone said Brandon Kroll has interesting esoteric shit surrounding 9/11 and Trump. It would be a good interview. Uncle Semite. I interviewed him twice. Twice on the show. You can find it on Rumble, on all audio platforms, on even YouTube. I think even allowed it to stay up. So there's a clip of Trump on a phone call with news saying, "I said, well, I guess my building is the tallest in New York now." Imagine that, you know.
But isn't there also something? Was it in a book he wrote in 2000? Where he talks about his fears surrounding something to do with that.
He's like, I probably fucking watched them weed. That's what weed does to you. Makes you forget. Yeah, there's no planes hitting the towers or Pennsylvania or Pentagon. 2 planes were still in service. The next for the service for the next 4 or 5 years. Yo, like the Pentagon footage of like. Is this that one?
Outside the Pentagon, CNN's military affairs correspondent Jamie McIntyre. And Jamie, you got very close to where that plane went down.
That's right, Judy. A while ago, I walked right up to next to the building. Firefighters were still trying to put out the blaze. The fire, by the way, is still burning in some parts of the Pentagon. And I took a look at the huge gaping hole that's in this sideway, but from my close-up inspection, there's no evidence of a plane having crashed anywhere near the Pentagon. The only site is the actual side of the building that's crashed in. And as I said, the only pieces left that you can see are small enough that you could pick up in your hand. There are no large tail sections, wing sections, a fuselage, nothing like that anywhere.
It is funny that how often the news, as much as it is propaganda and they're pushing certain agendas and it's controlled, how often they do make mistakes, especially at this time. All sorts of different news channels were reporting on the Israelis, like even Fox News, which is, I believe, controlled now. It's just like, for all the people out there, it's not all Jewish people, but there is a large percentage of people who own these networks and invest in them and push their propaganda and all that type of thing, right? You have to like have an objective mind and look at this stuff and be like, yeah, like I said, if it was Russian fingerprints or if, you know, whatever. And that's at the beginning of all this stuff, right? I thought it was like, hey, George Bush, right? It's the CIA. They're controlling it, right? And then you have like Building 7 just collapses in on itself like some sort of demolition. And, you know, everyone's theories was like, you know, it's these Arabic terrorists. And like some of the images and the things that happened with the jumpers and just all of this stuff that we're talking about, like I didn't want this to go on for many hours because it easily could. And we could easily revisit this. But everyone always thought like, you know, it was George Bush, it was the CIA, it was America, it was an inside job. But at the end of the day, who is controlling America? Why does every single politician that gets elected, that becomes a president, kiss the wall in Israel? Every single one has done it. Why is that the case, right? So if they do have special interests, foreign interests from foreign countries, we had the same in Canada. We have the conservative leader being like, I love the Jews. Make sure we protect them. You know, even though they're a tiny fraction of the population, Pierre Poilievre, the conservative leader, called himself a goy twice. I'm a good goy from the prairies. You know, like he says to us, like, how often are we going to like just ignore this blatant thing of like, we have to protect this minority class of people, constantly, nonstop, constantly advocate for them, but then actual Canadian people, Irish people, American are dying, and they're like, don't look at that. I didn't wear a turban. Please forget that I said we should let all flights from Amazon have a direct flight from India, you know. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's just so many, like, there's so many different conspiracies.
Is that weird? Like the plane crash?
Plane crash at the Pentagon, no plane parts, luggage, or passengers.
No evidence a plane went into the Pentagon.
So now again, right? Can any of us, to play devil's advocate again, can any of us say what a plane wreck would look like if something nosedived and hit the ground at 500 miles an hour?
Yeah, but like it. Okay, well, all right, we'll do it again. We'll do it again, Aaron. I got another clip to do with that, actually. Oh, that was at the end of that clip I showed. So they talked about like this idea that the no planes hit the towers. That nose of the plane is made out of like, it's very thin material. The nose of a plane is hollow, so it would just collapse in on itself.
But like people do realize that like if a plane were to crash, it wouldn't look like something from the fucking War of the Worlds set from Universal Studios Hollywood or anything.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying that I'm sure there's people that will listen that will play the other side and try and say, well, you know, this is this or that. But there's a lot of stuff like the whole thing with the BBC like reporting on it. Do you know about that?
No.
So on the afternoon of September 11th, BBC World was doing a live broadcast from New York. The reporter, Jane Stanley, is standing in front of a window with the New York skyline behind her. She is reporting on the aftermath of the attacks, the chaos, the confusion, all of it. And then she says something that shocks a lot of people, even to today. She reports that World Trade Center Building 7, also known as WTC 7, had collapsed. But here's the thing. It was still standing, fully intact, and you can actually see it right behind her.
Yeah, I know. As she reports on it. It's crazy.
She announces the building has fallen about 20 minutes before it actually does. The real collapse happened at 5:20 p.m. in a sudden and total freefall. And as if that wasn't strange enough, the BBC feed cuts out mid-report just a few minutes after she makes the claim.
Yeah,
Now,
it's crazy.
They explained that their official statement was that we were relying on information from news agencies and that World Trade Center 7 was expected to fall due to structural damage and fires. They called it a genuine reporting error in a day full of chaos and confusion. Again, just seems there's a lot of fucking coincidences here, like that it gets harder and harder to believe that, like,
I know, dude. Like,
really?
the
Like,
laws
is that
of nature
really
don't give
the
a shit
story?
about political correctness or what people believe. The laws of nature confirm that 9/11 and always will be an inside job, whether you like it or not. Molten steel is the result of thermite, not of plane crashes or collapse or fire. Interestingly enough, when I had it's the guy Steven. I always forget that guy's name. The guy I had on that talk about like child trafficking and the underground tunnels. We actually like mentioned 9/11, and he's like, "That's what they want you to do. They want you to argue. Was it? Because like Diabolic, great rapper. If people don't know about Diabolic, dude is like him and Immoral Technique were very close, very conspiracy theorist based rapper. And they had disagreements. They don't see eye to eye anymore. But Diabolic is probably one of the greatest underground white rappers to ever exist. And he talked about how like there was C4 planted in the towers. And that's what they always want people to argue about. It's like, is it this? Is it that? Keeping us constantly distracted. This is near shaped charge. It cuts like this is something that people always bring up. It cut the beam directly in half diagonally. Like it's like, how do you not understand? Like there is a whole commission of 4,000. Jake Shields interviewed the one guy. I wonder if I could get in contact with him. To talk on the show about this stuff, and he is there's 400 different demolition or 4,000 different demolition architectural like experts that debate this stuff, and it's fucking crazy. Jet fuel cannot melt steel beams, but passports survive. Cool story, bro. You know what I mean? Like that shit is like wild. So let's bang out some of these videos.
Did you hear of a guy called Kevin Wesley before?
No.
So there's another, this is just some random thing I found. Again, I don't know, like there's just a lot of coincidence here. I don't know if it leads to anywhere, but so apparently there's footage from him that shows the second plane hitting the South Tower with raw audio and a totally different perspective than what most people saw on TV. According to sources, Kevin Wesley was a former Air Force engineer with ties to Boeing. The story goes that he was on a ferry near the waterfront in New York City with a clear line of sight to the towers. As smoke billows from the North Tower after the first plane hit, he begins filming. In the raw video that's now being passed around online, you can hear a normal city background noise and then a sudden loud engine roar. And out of nowhere, a second plane slices into frame, crashing into the South Tower with terrifying force. What makes the video different isn't just the angle, it's the sound. You can hear the whine of the engines, the impacts, the collective gasps of people nearby, and Kevin's voice reacting in real time. For years, this footage was supposedly kept private, whether out of trauma, respect, or something else, nobody knows. But around 2022, it began to surface on Instagram Reels, Reddit threads, and YouTube uploads titled Kevin's 9/11 video with raw audio. People started to ask, where has this been all the time? Why hasn't this ever been shown on the news? Who is Kevin Wesley and how did he manage to catch this? Some people say it's the clearest, most intimate footage of the second plane hitting the tower ever. Others believe Kevin might have had military insight or access that the public didn't. Theories started swirling. Was he just in the right place at the right time, or was there more to it? Nobody really knows. He has never come forward publicly, and the footage remains one of the most mysterious entries in the archives of 9/11 imagery. Now, it's weird, right? Because apparently the video was uploaded in the early 2000s, right? And it was only turned off, changed from private to public in 2022. And they found, there's a video on his YouTube channel, and I can't remember what the title is. It's something to do with his wedding or like a vacation video. But the title says something like Horns Down or something like that, which is a term used in a military program for unmanned drones.
Oh, yeah, I have, weirdly enough.
Which is bit, again, like, look, this could be just some bullshit that people made up online. Like, There's so much like weird stuff like that, dude, that I'm like, it can't all be coincidental, can
I
it?
know. Let me see what. There's a video of this.
How could Muhammad Atta's passport...
Let's just play this. Shit.
How could Muhammad Atta's passport survive the fireball explosion that supposedly cremated him, fly out of his pocket, fly out of the incinerated plane, flutter to the ground into 2 feet of debris, and end up in readable condition in the hands of investigators, all within 48 hours? Why did 19 Muslim men even need passports on domestic flights? How were passports found but not the plane's voice recorders? Why did the hijackers need passports they would never use again after their suicide flights? And why were the 19 accused Muslims not under surveillance on 911 if they were so easy to identify? The conspicuous trail of planted evidence continued 3 weeks after the 911 attacks, when anthrax letters killed 5 people and were clearly worded to throw the blame on Muslims. Death to America, death to Israel, Allah is great.
Very weird, dude. Those docs are great, whatever. But there's let me click through some of these because there's something I have about what you're talking about.
If those were military.
Listen, this is the drone one. So check this out. Was it drones?
If those were military drones and not regular airliners, what happened to the passengers? With certainty, no one can answer this question. One thing we do know, however, the CIA has been developing plans for covert operations that involve the in-flight swapping of commercial airliners with military drones since the 1960s. One such plan was called Operation Northwoods, and it detailed how to replace a civil airliner with a military drone in mid-air, unbeknownst to the air traffic controllers. After the swap, the airliner would be landed in a military base. The drone would continue to fly, appearing on radar as the original plane, and would be remotely guided all the way into the target. We don't know whether this is the actual end the passengers met, but one thing we can say for sure. Those who called their relatives from their cell phones could not have placed those calls from the airplanes in flight.
Very strange, man. Very strange. And someone in the chat did say no other like buildings have ever collapsed due to fire. No buildings and it's crazy, dude.
What's everyone's opinion on like how prevalent something like this is in like not lost media, in media in general? Like I know there's stuff with like The Simpsons and like different like songs and movies and stuff like that. I don't put a massive amount of weight in it because I suppose like, something like the Twin Towers was kind of an iconic thing, quite like the Statue of Liberty and stuff like that. So it would have been featured more so. But if you actually like do 5 minutes of research online, there is so much imagery pre 9/11 that have the Twin Towers and airplanes in the same image, which is quite scary. One of the weirdest ones I found, and it kind of ties into like stuff I like in general, and it's such a weird kind of tie-in, and I don't think anybody will notice. Have you ever heard of the X-Files spin-off, The Lone Gunmen?
No.
Okay, so there was a spin-off show from the X-Files called The Lone Gunmen, right? And its first episode, its pilot episode, right? It was so back in March 2001, a few months before the September 11 attacks, Fox aired a pilot episode of The Lone Gunmen. It was a short-lived spin-off of the X-Files focusing on 3 conspiracy-loving hackers, the Lone Gunmen, who were always helping Mulder with weirder cases. Anyway, the plot of the pilot episode is absolutely insane when you look back on it now. In the episode, the trio uncover a plot by a shadowy faction inside the US government, a rogue element to remotely hijack a commercial airliner and crash it into the World Trade Center. Now that's the actual plot. The reason given in the show that they're doing this is it's a false flag operation. They want to blame foreign terrorists so they can launch a new war and boost weapon sales. And they literally say that. You can watch the episode on YouTube, it's on it. They literally, like, one of the actors actually says that word for word. This episode aired 6 months before 9/11, At the time, people saw it as typical X-Files paranoia, but after the real attacks happened later that year, people went back and rewatched it and were like, wait, what the hell? The plane in the episode was flying out of Boston Airport, just like two of the real 9/11 flights, heading straight for the World Trade Center. The heroes barely managed to override the autopilot on the last second and pull the plane up. And of course, when the attacks happened, the episode became an urban legend, asking how did they know? Was it just a coincidence? Was it predictive programming? Or was it based on something the writers had heard? Even the creators have said to have been shocked by how close it all was. They've talked about it in interviews, saying they were just riffing on the kinds of Black Ops conspiracies that X-Files was known for. But the parallels just seem too close for comfort.
See, and that's my thing is it for knowledge? Is it this idea, right? There's like different speculations that you can have about this. Is the idea that these collective thoughts and things that are out in the ether are people grabbing them and they're like I said, I've said before, like, is your thoughts just like kind of grabbed and dropped in your head? Like, are your thoughts your own? Are these things like natural?
There's a really good
it's very weird, dude.
He was a magician, but he kind of turned to like a psychologist / mentalist / interrogator sort of guy in the UK called Darren Brown. And he talks a lot about that, like predictive programming and the ability to be able to plant things. Like, I can make you think your choices are your own. Like, he's done multiple TV shows, kind of movies and
they
stuff.
They can trick people in so many ways.
Yeah, like, and he actually sets people, like, he'll have like a test subject and he'll show how he's able to kind of control their narrative so they believe things are a certain way. And then at the end, he reveals like that whole experience you just went through was an entire lie. Everything.
Oh, I know, and they've been able to do this, also with like magicians do this with sleight of hand tricks and stuff like that. Someone in the chat also mentioned, Osama bin Laden. It was Tim Osman. Died peacefully in a hospital, like I said, in December 2001, 3 months after 9/11. 10 years later, Obama administration claims to successfully eliminate bin Laden at a Pakistani compound just in time for Obama's re-election campaign. The story is a farce. Bin Laden's been dead for 10 years. That's also what I heard. When I was younger, years ago, I heard that it was a front. He died way earlier. They were actually going to use it for a political campaign that people started to lose favor with George Bush. They were going to bring out, oh my God, he got Osama bin Laden, and it would maybe boost his political career. And then coincidentally, when Obama was losing favor, all of a sudden this comes out. Obama is like definitely part of this whole.
That's really weird. So when you search Tim Osman's Osama bin Laden, it comes up and it says there is no known person named this associated with Osama bin Laden in public records or news sources. The name Gary Brooks Faulkner is linked to the hunt for Osama bin Laden, however. He was an American who was arrested in Pakistan in 2010 while on a self-proclaimed mission to hunt and kill bin Laden. He's a carpenter and general contractor who became known for his eccentric and determined efforts to find the Al-Qaeda leader. Regarding Tim Osman, a search for this does not yield any relevant results connecting him to Osama bin Laden or the events surrounding his capture of any kind.
It's very strange, man. So
I'm not taking that as fact. I'm just pointing out that it's very interesting. As soon as you put those two names together, it's like no.
Yeah. So we should bring this to a close very soon. Israel emerges stronger geopolitically post 9/11. The U.S. launches wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, and begin these attacks against Iran and Syria. Iran was supposed to be the last one to fall. All enemies of Israel, all regional enemies of Israel gets attacked. Benjamin Netanyahu even said, we are benefiting from one thing, and that is the attack on the Twin Towers and the Pentagon and the American struggle in Iraq. His words, not ours. So try posting about this on social media, especially at the time of a couple years ago. You'll be banned, shadow banned, or labeled anti-Semitic. Try discussing this in politics. You'll be accused of hate speech or conspiracies. Many of these topics, the art students, the urban moving systems, Mossad connections are heavily redacted in FBI documents or are simply deleted from online archives. Even Fox News, reported by Carl Cameron, is now unavailable on their website. Why secrecy? If there's nothing to hide, why is it all hidden? Let's be clear. This isn't about blaming Israelis or all Jews. This is about asking tough questions of governments and intelligence agencies, including our so-called allies if you're American. The official narrative of 9/11 leaves huge gaps. All those gaps have names: urban moving systems, art students, Mossad, PNAC, Silverstein. Did Israel orchestrate 9/11? The truth is murky, but did they benefit from it? Undeniably. And was their intelligence agency possibly in the know, knowing what's going on? That's a question we should keep asking ourselves, even if the world doesn't want to hear the answer. And, you know, of course, bin Laden was some sort of boogeyman. You know, the Israeli military did train the Taliban. And Fox News outed this story, as someone in the chat was saying that we discussed earlier, and they literally tried to cover it up. You know, I have a couple more videos. Let's just play this. This is some sort of military official, but just listen to what he has to say, and then we'll kind of bring this to a close.
Understand the impact of a jet. From what I understand, the outer skeleton of the building, the outer columns was like a fishnet, and you had these inner core columns, which was substantial, thick steel beams to withstand 4 or 5 times what the loads were. The engineers always over-design a building. No steel frame building has ever collapsed before or since 9/11. So that should say something right there. And it said that Building 7, it was a progressive collapse, that it was caused by fire. But progressive collapse, unlike the Twin Towers collapsed from the top down. That's a progressive collapse, floor by floor by floor. But if you look at the videos of Building 7 collapsing, it collapses uniformly. It's collapsing from the bottom. The building stays intact all the way to the bottom of the ground, and you could see the sides caving in on it. For a building to collapse uniformly, which the videos show, all the load-bearing columns would have had to have failed simultaneously. Now, fire doesn't act like that. I came across an analogy of the Twin Towers, and if you could visualize cast iron stoves stacked one on top of each other. The stoves up at the top, yes, there's fire and they've been damaged, but the stoves on the bottom, they haven't been damaged. So the structure underneath all of that is intact. So it's impossible for a building to collapse near free fall speed and increase
without a controlled demolition.
You're running into the path of most resistance. So something else is going on. I don't believe that it was just the planes or the fires. I think that, and they examined the dust and they found what they call thermitic material, which is like an explosive incendiary, which was in the dust samples, and that's documented. There were reports of the buildings were undergoing an extensive elevator renovation in the 2 or 3 years prior to. All kinds of workers, they had access to the cores of the building. And on the day of the attack, the elevator company would not assist in the operations of the elevators. And the elevator company it subsequently went out of business. And a couple of years after that, the information is out there. At one time when I was heavily engaged in trying to get a new investigation, I definitely felt threatened. I felt threatened for my family, and it wasn't a pleasant experience. You have sworn testimonies from firefighters regarding explosions in the building. They were suppressed. Just somebody making a statement, especially from firemen and police, if they make a statement, I heard an explosion, that's grounds to initiate an investigation. The firefighters, a bomb went off. This is their own words, made that day.
That is wild, dude. Like literally, like it makes the most like. And the thing is, I had other clips to play. Like I had David Icke talking about this stuff. I had other stuff that maybe I'll leave on this setup for maybe later we can bring up. Yeah, we could sit here for 5 hours and discuss this stuff. It's easy to like break down. There's actually more questions that I have, more things I could bring up, more videos I could add. You know, and we tried.
It's wild that it's one of those topics where, and I've always felt like this from a young age. Like I said, I have family who live in New York, and I remember this going on, and I remember being taken out of school on that day, and it's crazy to me. It's definitely one of those things that happened in our lifetime that has the most amount of kind of conspiracies and stories and theories and different strands that all seem to kind of connect in a certain
Dude,
way.
it's that big, like, Charlie Day from...
Yeah, dude, it's like so expansive. Like, it's actually unbelievable. When you actually sit down and talk for a little while about it, you kind of start to realize of like, fuck, I thought I knew about like, and even like a book like this, I think that's how a book like that gets written, because and I don't think even this probably covers every single...
Dude, I'm sure, David, I could like, it could be like a massive encyclopedia of like, 7 different books or something.
Yeah, I definitely do think so, because there's so many different like stories, and there's different names and stuff that I never heard before. Like, I was listening to some stuff today, and there was names that got brought up in situations that I was like, I've never heard of that before. But that's...
And the thing is, right, maybe I was like, oh, we can get this done in an hour and a half. I'm like, there's no, like, realistically, there's so many speculations. There's videos I got that I didn't even play. I still have 5 videos that we didn't show. And maybe let's just fire them off real quick. All of them are like a minute. Go for it. Video. I don't like. We're gonna copyright as soon as that hears that, man. It's like the explosion on the side of the tower. Very weird. This is a minute and a half. So
video cameras caught trucks arriving at the World Trade Center from about August 23rd until every night until about September 2nd, September 3rd. And the trucks were arriving at about 3 o'clock in the morning when everybody else had left the building, including the janitorial trucks. And the trucks were leaving at 5 a.m. right before the AAA personalities of Wall Street got to work to start their day. Something was brought into that building that would help with the detonation. There may have been work done on the detonation before. It may have been going on for months, but whatever they needed at the very end, they came and brought in that 10-day period. That's what we think happened. The airplane hijackings were a cover for the controlled demolition, which was undertaken by a small group of people, probably just 4 or 5 people. We are never going to know who they are, and it's not worth looking for them. And in August of 2001, I was told to stay out of New York City because the attack was considered imminent. We expected mass casualties and a possible miniature thermonuclear strike, a bomb. However, I want to be very clear. The attack was always defined as airplane hijackings and a strike on the World Trade Center.
That was a former CIA agent, supposedly, that exposed that information, and the idea of like them having access, all these people, to fix the elevator shafts. As I said, there was Israeli nationalist Mossad agents that had propelling harnesses. The art students. There was also I said this before on the show, not an app, but like a messaging system, almost like AOL at the time, that was just mainly for Jewish people and inform them to stay away from New York. Let's just bang out the last couple of these.
Something of this kind is what we should have seen when the top section of the towers collapsed onto the lower one. The upper and lower sections should have mutually destroyed each other until all the energy is dissipated and the system comes to a rest. Alternatively, as shown in this experiment with 2 towers made of snow, the top section could have fallen off to the side after the initial collapse. What could not have happened is this.
A little tiny chunk of the building can't possibly fall and crush the entire structure below it.
This is such a simple, fundamental concept that architects and engineers were astonished in seeing it totally ignored by NIST.
This is high school physics, and our whole society is being led to believe that these fundamental laws of physics, hard science, don't apply anymore.
Fuel vaporized the entire plane. Flight 77 had 2 Rolls-Royce engines made of steel and titanium alloy and weigh 6 tons each. It is scientifically impossible that 12 tons of steel and titanium was vaporized by jet fuel.
We're also told that the bodies were able to be identified either by their fingerprints or by the DNA. So what kind of fire can vaporize aluminum and tempered steel and yet leave human bodies intact?
From my close-up inspection, there's no evidence of a plane having crashed anywhere near the Pentagon. And as I said, the only pieces left that you can see are small enough that you could pick up in your hand.
Shortly after the strike, government agents picked up debris and carried it off. The entire lawn was covered with dirt and gravel. so that any remaining forensic evidence was literally covered up. The videos from security cameras, which would show what really hit the Pentagon, were immediately confiscated by agents of the FBI, and the Department of Justice has to this day refused to release them. If these videos would prove that the Pentagon was really hit by a 757, most of us would assume the government would release them.
Either way, whatever is happening, they're lying about it. They're not telling us the truth, right? And it is crazy, dude. You know, and God knows if this will be taken off of YouTube or whatever, but like, we want to appreciate you guys for tuning in. You know, I wanted to make this kind of shorter and sweeter and like kind of really dive into this stuff, but there's a lot to it. We might revisit this at some point. I'm glad that we're able, this was Billy's idea and he wasn't even here. He was like, we should go live on 9/11 and discuss these conspiracies. There's so many speculations. There's so many ideas floating around. There's so many controversial topics, man.
I also want to say, and I said this at the start as well, I like the United States, so this isn't I don't know if any of that came across. Like,
yes,
I have family in the United States. I travel to the United States. In 3 days' time, I'm getting on a plane to the United States. I do not need any issues when I get to immigration in Dublin Airport. I do not need any issues.
I don't think you're going to get issues because of a live stream on 9/11 on some like homemade podcast. You know,
I mean, I've heard stranger stories, so I'm just prefacing that now. I do.
And as I've said, I have nothing against anybody. I don't have anything against Jewish people, Indian people. I have just questions to ask and things that are like going on. You know, it's just like, I do think a lot of people are caught in the crossfire of a lot of these conspiracies and these allegations and these things that are going on. And the same idea I mentioned earlier about blaming white people for everything that their governments do because they have the same shade of skin that we have, right? So very strange. I could keep going about this. I could keep going on. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please support the show. We do talk about some of these controversial topics and you know, question these things that most people don't want to talk about. And, you know, we do discuss a lot of this information that, you know, some shows wouldn't touch. So your support would be very appreciated. If you like, subscribe, send your friends, tell your friends about it. All those little things, word of mouth, getting the show out there, it does mean more than you think. You know, it says here it says here in the history books that luckily the good guys have always won every single time. What are the odds? Norm Macdonald, rest in peace. You know, it is, a Somalian TSA agent is going to tell you to spread him and cough.
I don't mind that as long as I can get on the plane.
Yeah. And there's a lot of crazy things going on in the world. We'll continue to cover this stuff and do it objectively and try to, like, I'm not going to, you know, target myself in any means. Look what's happening in the world. If this stuff is real, if it's not, either way, crazy things are happening. They're going to continue to get crazy and more sick. They're going to constantly try to do everything that they can in their power to keep us constantly fighting, killing each other, and doing whatever is necessary for them to keep getting away with all this stuff that they've constantly got away with. Clearly, there's no one been brought to justice with 9/11. Clearly, there's no one been, I guarantee no one will be brought to justice in really what happened to Charlie Kirk. Nothing will be done. We're going to, like, keep watching these people get away with murder and killing us constantly in the thousands, millions, no matter what your skin color is or what you think about things or who you are or what your political opinion is. They're coming after all of us. They're clearly, everyone is on the table and they could care less. If you're rich and you can pay for your way out, they'll probably grant it to you. But for everybody else, we're caught in the crossfire. Thank you for a great conversation. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. Aaron, we will leave this on David Icke. Okay, and then everybody subscribe, support the show. You know, you can support us on Patreon. You can buy David Icke's book, as Aaron's showing, Triggered. It's a massive book. Support in the ways that you can, and we appreciate it, right? Like, we really do. Buy merch, you know, so all that good stuff.
How many people know that on the morning of 9/11, a lady looked out of her apartment in New Jersey, looking over to the burning tower, the first one, and saw 5 Middle Eastern looking men filming it, high-fiving and cheering. She took them to be Arabic. She called the police. The police eventually tracked them down. They had traveling around in a white van. They were Israelis. They became known as the Dancing Israelis. They were arrested and kept in custody for 71 days until the ultra-Zionist head of the criminal division of the Justice Department, Michael Chertoff, released them. And how many people know that the same Michael Chertoff released the 200 arrested in the spy ring? And they went back to Israel. These 5 dancing Israelis, 2 of which were known by the police to be Mossad agents, said that they were there to document the event. Well, hold on. How did you know it was going to happen?